The Pokemon anime is now 27 years old, and over the years, we've gotten an amazing variety of battles. From the jaw-dropping gym battles, to the league matches that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. And so today, I'm going to be ranking the top 10 battles from the Pokemon anime of all time. For this video, I'll be counting every single episode, all the way from the Indigo League to Pokemon Horizons. However, Pokemon movies will not count. Alright then, let's not waste any more time and start off with some honorable mentions. First is Ash vs. Noland. It was an epic way to start off the Battle Frontier arc, and it was the first time one of Ash's Pokemon had ever taken down a legendary. Next is Ash vs. Wulfric. This was actually Ash's last ever gym battle, and it was so epic. It also helped solidify and master the Ash Greninja form. Then we've got Ash vs. Steven. This was a controversial battle, seeing how Ash really shouldn't have won. But it still earns a spot on here as Ash was able to take down the third strongest trainer in the Pokemon world. And the final honorable mention is Ash vs. Tobias. Sure, this battle sucks in a lot of ways, but looking back, it was amazing to still see Ash give it his all, and I love seeing Sceptile take down that Darkrai. Okay, well that does it for honorable mentions. Let's get started with the top 10. We're starting off this list with a very hot take. This battle is undoubtedly the most controversial in the entire Pokemon anime. During Pokemon X and Y, Ash was on a different level than anything we had ever seen before. His team was the strongest it had ever been, his strength was at an all-time high, and it really seemed like Kalos was gonna be the region where Ash finally won it all. And while Ash certainly showed tremendous growth and strength throughout the series, we also had Alain, who had a mini-series of his own, which really helped display his strength as he was taking on the likes of Elite Four members and even some powerful legendaries. And after a couple of exhibition matches between these two, we all knew this would lead up to an epic finale in the Kalos League. So that brings us to this huge battle. This was it. It was Ash's chance to finally prove all his doubters wrong, and... yeah, as a longtime Pokemon anime fan, this one stung. It was really like a punch in the gut to see Ash at his all-time strongest take this major L. And trust me when I tell you, the entirety of the Pokemon fandom was also outraged. And, you know, I can't really blame them, considering how the Japanese title of this episode was called Kalos League Victory, Satoshi's Ultimate Match. Yeah, and even the power of the legendary Ash Greninja wasn't enough. Now, looking back about 8 years later, this loss doesn't hurt as much, especially thanks to all of Ash's recent success. It's not the loss part that puts this battle so low on this list, though. It's low because this battle feels very rushed. The entire Ash vs. Alain Kalos League finale was actually only 2 episodes long, and if you compare that to some of the other major league battles, it's actually pretty short. This Ash vs. Alain battle seemed like it was in a bit of a rush to just get to that Greninja vs. Charizard finale. It was also kind of upsetting to see the Dragons of Ash's team underperform in this matchup, as it was really their last chance to show their strength. But I'll finish off this segment of the list with a big compliment. It was awesome to see Pikachu take down 2 pseudo-legendaries, and it was the perfect way to still show respect to Pikachu's power. Overall, this battle was a bit rushed, but was still visually stunning, even though it was incredibly controversial. Ash vs. Drake is the oldest Pokemon battle on this list, and for a battle that aired almost 25 years ago, it's still really solid to this day. Now, a quick reminder, the Orange Island arc was actually just filler to buy time for the Johto games to get made and released. But the Pokemon anime actually cooked with this battle. So Drake was the champion of the Orange Islands, and he was hyped up to be pretty much unbeatable. Unfortunately though, there really wasn't much to his character beyond him just being strong. So that, along with being how old this battle is, earns it this relatively low spot. But I view this match as a redemption battle for Ash after a pretty underwhelming showing in Kanto. See, back in Kanto, Ash kinda just BS'd his way through a lot of the region by not actually winning a decent amount of gym badges and kinda just getting lucky in some battles in the Kanto League. But here in the Orange Islands, Ash earned everything, and this battle was his chance to prove how far he had come. This was also the Pokemon anime's first ever full-on 6v6, and it was amazing. The battle itself was awesome. Drake's team was incredibly powerful, with some real threats like Gengar and Electabuzz. And it was pretty cool to see Drake use a Ditto, a Pokemon that certainly threw Ash for a loop. Meanwhile, on the other side of the field, all of Ash's Pokemon performed well, with the exception of Bulbasaur. We even got to see the battling debut of Lapras and Tauros, who both performed great. I mean, Ash was totally dominating most of this match by taking a huge 4-1 lead towards the end of the battle. But everything changed when Drake revealed his final Pokemon, Dragonite. And believe me when I tell you, this thing was a monster. It was able to sweep through most of Ash's team, including his Charizard, and Drake's Dragonite even had the ability to use 10 different moves. This was an epic way to show off the true power of the original pseudo-legendary. The conclusion of this battle was also epic, by having Pikachu use an all-out, point-blank thunder to take down the powerful Dragonite. And like that, Ash had officially won his first ever championship and was finally a competent and powerful trainer. Ash vs Sawyer in the semifinals of the Kalos League was a true spectacle to behold. The first full 6v6 in Kalos was stunning, especially from a visual standpoint. For about half of the XY series, Sawyer was Ash's main rival, and he went through some tremendous growth in a very short amount of time. He went from the newbie trainer who viewed Ash as a role model to outright surpassing him. And this was mostly thanks to Sawyer's incredible intellect and knowledge of Pokemon. Their riveting rivalry came to an epic conclusion here with this battle, and we really got to see the contrast of Ash and Sawyer's different battling styles. Sawyer is totally calculated with every move he makes in battle, and he's always following some sort of overarching strategy. And meanwhile, Ash? He does none of that. Ash prefers a fluid, improvisational battling style. This battle really had it all, and I didn't even mention the epic Dragon Sky battle between Noivern and Salamence. But the climax between Greninja and Sceptile is where the battle is at its best. It's both of the trainers' final remaining Pokemon, and after the two fully accept each other as equals, they reach their final forms, and that's when the fun really begins. Sawyer knew that Ash Greninja prefers an up-close and fast style of battling, so he used Sceptile's long-range moves to keep him at a distance for as long as he could. Seeing Ash Greninja weave through and cut down the roots of Frenzy Plant was truly epic, and then the battle comes to an astonishing end with a supersized water shuriken. This was a great way to cap off their rivalry, and you could really tell how proud Ash was of Sawyer. Next up, we've got the battle that made Ash Ketchum a champion. Ash vs Gladion in the Alola League is as iconic a battle as they come in the Pokemon anime. It was the finals of the first ever Alola League, and boy did it deliver. I mean, right from the start, we got a matchup between a mythical and a legendary, being Ash's new Melmetal versus Gladion Silvally. And this matchup really surprised me, seeing how I kind of expected Melmetal to come in and carry Ash's team, because the previous episode was pretty much all about Melmetal. But nope, the Pokemon that carried Ash this battle was of course Pikachu. Pikachu was able to avenge the fallen Melmetal with an awesome move combination by using Electro Web to gain more speed and momentum to unleash a powerful Iron Tail to take out Silvally. After this, we got an awesome matchup between Pikachu and Zoroark. This battle ended in a Z-move double collision, taking them both out, leaving us with the Lycanroc v Lycanroc finale. For the entire series, Ash's Dusk form Lycanroc had always looked up to Gladion's Midnight form Lycanroc, but he was never able to get the better of his mentor in battle. The battle here between the two Rock Wolves was epic and so brutal. Both of these Lycanrocs landed heavy hit after heavy hit, but Ash was finally able to overcome Gladion's counter strategy by using counter against counter. Yup, leave it to Ash to pull off something crazy to make him a champion. Ash, like most of the audience, was shocked and in disbelief when he realized he had finally won. After 20 years of league losses, Ash was finally a regional champion, and he definitely earned it. Really, the only thing that holds this battle back from a higher spot is that it was only a 3-on-3. That, along with Ash and Gladion not having the deepest and most complex rivalry. Still though, it was epic and will always live on in Pokemon history. After taking 2 previous losses to Brandon, we arrive here with the climax of the Battle Frontier arc, with Ash vs. Brandon taking the 6th spot on today's ranking. Let me begin this entry by saying this. Unfortunately, almost all of the Pokemon Advance series was underwhelming and outright forgettable. That was until we got the Battle Frontier arc, which is when this series went from a 6 all the way up to a 10. In the Battle Frontier, we had some epic battles, but Ash was kind of breezing through all of the Frontier brains with little effort. That was until he met Brandon. While Brandon was certainly an incredibly powerful trainer, he was also kind of a jerk. But here in their 3rd and final matchup, Ash pulled out all the stops. For this battle, Ash decided he would bring back his original Kanto gang to help him earn the Final Frontier symbol. Now this battle certainly shocked me. Seeing Ash lead off with Charizard was something that he normally doesn't do, and seeing Charizard go down in the first round of the battle really put Ash into a deep hole. Luckily, Squirtle and especially Bulbasaur were able to pick up a lot of the slack thanks to their bonds and trust with Ash. And we even got to see some more of Ash's improvisational battling tactics by having Squirtle use Hydro Pump on itself to clear its eyes. And Bulbasaur was able to take down both Dusclops as well as tie with Solrock to even the battle up, leaving us with the Pikachu vs Regice one-on-one. The odds still seemed against Ash here, especially with how Brandon was able to take control of the battlefield thanks to Ice Beam. But thanks to Pikachu's trust in Ash, he was able to defeat Regice with his newly learned Volt Tackle, which means Ash had finally defeated Brandon and he had fully conquered the Battle Frontier. This was easily one of Ash's biggest accomplishments ever, and it was also Pikachu's first ever defeat of a legendary Pokemon. In 5th place, we've got a battle 15 years in the making. Ash vs. Cynthia from the semifinals of the Masters 8. Now, thank God this was a full-on 6v6 and not a 3v3 like round 1 of the tournament. So this battle was actually foreshadowed at the end of the Diamond and Pearl series, with Ash envisioning himself taking on Cynthia. But at the time, Ash was nowhere near Cynthia's league when it came to power. But after 4 more regions and over a decade later, we arrive here at the Masters 8 with Ash at the top of his game. This battle takes off right from the start. Cynthia leads off with her Spiritomb, and this thing was an absolute menace. Not only did it take down Dragonite, not only did it take down Gengar, but it was also able to take down Pikachu with it. This thing destroyed Ash's Kantomons and put him on his back foot almost immediately. This was the perfect way to start the battle with Cynthia, seeing as she is a multi-talented and diverse trainer who can use both absolute raw strength as well as some queenly intellect. Luckily though, Dracovish and Sirfetch'd were able to turn the tide. Dracovish gave it his absolute all by overcoming poison and taking down Roserade. Then we've got Sirfetch'd, who was honestly the MVP of this battle. He took down Milotic, cleaned up Stealth Rocks, and even pushed Garchomp to its absolute limit. He went out in a true knightly fashion. This set the table for Ash's Lucario to clean up. Now, I didn't really love the decision to have Cynthia Dynamax her Togekiss. Well, yes, it was certainly surprising, it just didn't feel right. I mean, why have Garchomp Mega Evolve in the previous round just to backpedal on it here? Still though, Mega Lucario vs Dynamax Togekiss was pretty cool looking, and Ash and Lucario were really giving it their all. Then we got the brutal finale of Lucario vs Garchomp, and it was still pretty good. Ultimately, Lucario was the last Mon standing, and Ash had finally overcome Cynthia. It was an incredible battle, and it was a satisfying and respectful way to have him beat the champion of Sinnoh. Taking 4th is the Johto League matchup between Ash and his original rival, Gary. This battle was the climax of what I believe to be the greatest Ash Ketchum rivalry. After an entire series worth of being multiple steps behind Gary, Ash was finally on even footing with his rival, and this was his chance to surpass him. Just like in the battle with Cynthia, Ash is at a huge disadvantage early on, with Gary taking a significant lead. Luckily for Ash, his team was filled with some heavy hitters, and Mons like Snorlax and Heracross were able to pick up a lot of the slack and put Ash back on track. A super underrated part of this battle was when Heracross tanked a point-blank Fire Blast, then was able to take down Gary's Magmar with Mega Horn. But after Gary Scizor took down Ash's worthless Muck, he was down 3 Pokemon to 1. But luckily for Ash, that one Pokemon was Charizard. and he was able to make an epic comeback by taking down the likes of Scizor and Golem. This all led to the final battle between Charizard and Blastoise, the two cover Pokemon of the original games. Close hand-to-hand combat, solid animations, and even ingenious strategies, like when Ash burned the battlefield to immobilize Blastoise. Then finally, once Charizard got his hands on Blastoise, he took him for a ride, and we all know how that ends. Finally, Ash had gotten the better of Gary, and even he was shocked to realize he had won. Now this battle helped bookend the original series. Ash went from being way behind Gary to outright surpassing him. We also got to see the results of Charizard's training here by having him sweep through half of Gary's team and displaying some impressive speed and strength. From one amazing rival to the next, we've got Ash vs. Paul in the Sinnoh League. For most of the history of the Pokemon anime, this battle stood far and away as the best of the best, and many still believe it to be the best to this very day, and rightfully so. We all remember how brutal of a rival Paul was to Ash. He was constantly putting Ash and his Pokemon down for pretty much the entirety of the DP series. He also schooled Ash in just about every battle they ever had, especially in their Lake Acuity matchup. But here in the Sinnoh League was when their rivalry was at its climax. Strategy was on full display here, as Paul's plan was to let Ash gain a big lead, only to have him get complacent and regain the lead thanks to his OP Drapion. This Drapion was an absolute beast. It took down Buizel, Staraptor, and Torterra, and it honestly dominated all three of those mons. The back and forth in this battle was crazy, and the twists and turns were abundant. But the thing that makes this battle so great is, of course, Infernape. After being abandoned by Paul after some brutal treatment, he was taken in by Ash with loving care. Infernape's Blaze ability was abnormally powerful, but it was also incredibly tough to master. But leave it to Ash to figure it out. Now, Infernape was certainly the MVP of this battle by taking down Paul's Aggron and Ninjask. Then this ultimately led to the finale, with Infernape taking on his own rival in Electivire. You can tell how bad both Ash and Infernape wanted it here. But then, when Infernape gets too close, he gets hit with a point-blank thunder, and all hope seems to be lost. Electivire and Paul even begin to taunt the two, but Infernape is able to muster up the last of its strength, and this is exactly what Ash was hoping for. Infernape activates Blaze, and now it's go time. You can just tell how much anger and rage Infernape was putting behind all of its attacks. And then, after a Flare Blitz Thunder Punch collision, Infernape is still standing, earning Ash a major victory. He had surpassed Paul, and Infernape had finally got his revenge. A perfect way to end a perfect rivalry. In second place is Ash's final battle and the biggest battle of all time. The finale of the Masters 8 tournament, Ash vs. Leon. Now with this battle, I don't even know where to begin. I suppose I'll start with Leon. For the entirety of Pokemon Journeys, Leon was built up to be this incredible trainer who was far and away the greatest in the Pokemon world. And this was definitely proven in the first two rounds of the Masters 8, with him sweeping through the other champions' teams. So right away, Ash was really up against the odds. For this finale, we got all of the battling gimmicks being used along with some stunning visuals. All of Ash's Pokemon got the chance to shine, and Leon's team was certainly impressive. He was rocking an incredible team with a dual-wielding Inteleon, Libero Cinderace, Rillaboom, a goofy Mr. Rhyme, an OP Dragapult, and his Gigantamaxing ace, Charizard. This battle really kept me on the edge of my seat for the entirety of its 4-episode run. G-Max Gengar vs. Inteleon was epic, and it helped give Ash a quick lead, only for Mr. Rhyme to even things up. Then Ash went from one battling gimmick to the next by having Lucario go right into Mega Evolving, and it took down Mr. Rhyme with ease thanks to a little help from Sirfetch'd. But then, once Leon's Dragapult hit the battlefield, everything changed. This thing was a huge nuisance to Ash's team, and it surprisingly took down Mega Lucario. But Dragonite was able to redeem herself and prove her to be the stronger pseudo-dragon. Leon's Rillaboom then cleans up Dragonite and Sirfetch'd, and that's when it becomes kind of scary for Ash. This is when the battle begins to slip away, but Dracovish is somehow able to take down that OP Rillaboom. But then, he quickly falls to Cinderace. At this point, I didn't know what to make of the battle, but next thing we know, we've got a Gigantamaxing Charizard taking on a Z-move Pikachu with a move collision so powerful it forces Eternatus to pull up to the battlefield. This is when things get crazy. Both Ash and Leon get to Gigantamax one more time, and thanks to a little bit of plot armor, Ash ties it up. The two trainers are left with just their original partner Pokemon, and this 1v1 is easily the greatest in Pokemon history. The two most iconic Pokemon ever are squaring off to decide who's the strongest trainer in the world. The visuals are absolutely stunning here, with Pokemon looking the best it ever has. And once Pikachu got hit with that Fire Blast, my heart absolutely dropped. But then, we got my favorite moment in the anime. When Pikachu saw every teammate he had ever had, it helped him find an extra gear and give the battle one last push. This leads to an epic Thunderbolt vs Fire Blast collision. And I actually really like the way they ended this battle, with the big cut to black and Pikachu and Ash being in the Pokemon Center remembering how the battle concluded. It was absolutely epic and I loved every minute of it. This battle was an amazing way to send off Ash and everything was just perfect. And it was because of all these previous failures that Ash was able to overcome that made this win so much sweeter. Ash had certainly earned this win, and with it, the title of World Monarch. But taking the top spot and winning Best Battle in the Pokemon anime history is Ash vs Kukui in the Alola League. What gives this battle the top spot on the list isn't the visuals, the stakes, or even the final clash. No, what makes this battle so special is the relationships founded within this matchup. First off, we've got Ash's Torracat, who viewed Kukui's Incineroar as a role model who he wanted nothing more than to get the best of. After pretty much an entire series of losing to it, this was its final chance to get the better of its mentor. And after an absolutely fiery finale, Torracat does just that and surpasses Kukui's Incineroar, and after evolving, claims the title of strongest Pokemon in Alola. Then of course we've got Tapu Koko, who worked as a rival for Ash's Pikachu for all of the Sun and Moon series. Their final 1v1 was everything we could have hoped for, with both electric types giving it their all, ending in one of the most climactic and visually stunning finishes we had ever seen. The Guardian of Alola Z-move was astonishing, but Pikachu and Ash were able to overcome it with 10 million volt Thunderbolt. But the biggest relationship at play here was with Ash and Kukui. Kukui was essentially Ash's biggest father figure he had ever had. Beyond just that though, he was also Ash's school teacher, educating him in things like Z-moves and the legends of the Alola region. Beyond all of this though, we got a ton of other epic matchups, like Rowlet vs Braviary, Melmetal vs Incineroar, and Naganadel vs Lucario. Another thing I really admire about this battle is its stakes, because there are none. This battle didn't really mean much. I mean, win or lose, Ash is always going to be the champion of Alola. That's what makes this battle so enjoyable. You can tell, well yes, both trainers want to win, they are still having just a great time, but still going all out. If you ask me, this was the real climax of the Alola League, and this battle was just straight up a ton of fun. It truly solidified Ash as the champion of the Alola region. Well guys, that's going to do it for today's video. What do you think of my battle rankings? Let me know in the comments below. Also, be sure to check out the link in the video's description to join my Discord. Thanks guys.